Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, I trust you enjoyed my last video from Guyana artist Eddy and through his song Electric Avenue, which is a bit of an ideal of where communities can get to, but sometimes it takes a while to get there. But what are we doing in our small part of the world to be a positive influence? So I trust you found all that encouraging. Well, we're going to London 1981. Now, England is such a rich place for music. Oh my goodness. It all sort of started in the Beatles in 1960. Now they changed music forever. Bands like the Rolling Stones as well. Around that late 60s, bands like the Moody Blues were really bringing this progressive aspect to things. Of course, hard rock bands like Led Zeppelin and The Who. And then again, progressive rock bands like the Buggles and Yes. And around that late 70s period, we also had this punk thing happening. Bands like the Sex Pistols well and truly brought that into the world. Other bands like The Damned. These are acts I've already done videos on. And it was and certainly with bands like ABBA and the Bay City Rollers. Of course, they're from Scotland, but no, UK was a massive place for them as well. Fans were becoming a little bit more front and centre in performances. You just couldn't play instruments, or you had to put on a bit of a show. And this is well and truly what was happening. And to put on a show, it requires you to put on a character, to have a character on stage that enables you to get your message out there. But not a character that is so out there that no one will believe it. It's a character that's in true to who you are as a person. And certainly around that late 1970s period, we started to get the new wave, new romantic period coming in. Bands like Duran Duran have changed music again. And while music was becoming a bit of more of a show, performers were starting to realise they could actually be themselves on stage and be fine. And that brings us onto this group today, because these guys are one of the most significant acts in the new wave, new romantic period in the 1980s. You just not get much bigger than these guys. And certainly in 1985, when Live Aid came out in the UK, they had to wait for this guy, the lead singer of this band, to rock up before they could start the recording. So that's how significant this band actually is. And it was also an era where what this guy was trying to actually get across was not cool at all. It was not cool to be like this at all. And so there's a lot of bravery and courage going on behind the scenes as well. So who are we talking about? Well, I'm glad you asked. So 1981 in London, we had Roy Hay on guitar and keyboards. We had Mikey Craig on bass guitar. We had John Moss on drums and George Alan McDowell on lead vocals. You'll be thinking, well, I still don't get who this is yet. Let's go a little bit further. Roy Hay, blonde, according to the Wikipedia entry, blonde Englishman. Mikey Craig, a black Briton. John Moss on drums as a Jew, and of course George Alan McDowell is an Irish gay man, Boy George. So we're talking about the Culture Club, obviously, here. Now, when I was around in 1981, obviously, now when these guys came out, oh my goodness, it was like the world changed forever when these guys came out, because these guys just wanted to say, hey, look, guys, given our backgrounds, we're going to call ourselves the Culture Club, and culture is what it's all about, because we're a diverse group of people, and we actually want to just bring that into the world. So these guys are very influential in the new romantic, new wave era in the UK and the world, actually. Boy George was one of the most distinctive characters going around. I mean, he's going to use the word distinctive here because there's no one else even remotely close to this guy when he came out. He was very distinctive. He wasn't scared to be himself, a lot of courage. And because of that, people just kind of got swept with this iconic Boy George character and just gave him the best go possible. Culture Club got signed to Virgin Records. Good on them for doing what they did. And between 1982 and 1986, there were 4 studio albums. And then in 1999, so a bit of a break, 1 more studio album. And then in 2018, again, 1 more studio album. And amongst all of that, 29 singles. Estimated they've sold 50 million albums, so very significant in the scheme of things in this new wave genre. They've won ASCAP Pop Music Awards, Billboard Music Awards, 3 Brit Awards, 1 Grammy Award, 2 unavailable awards, and a whole stack of MTV Music Awards. Because what was happening in the 1980s? MTV. So if you were going to be an artist, you had to not just sort of be on stage and kind of do your whole, performing live thing, which these guys can do really, really well. And we'll actually get onto that in a minute. We've got to actually put a bit of a story with your video clips. Capture the imagination of your audience, who are everyone tuning into MTV in droves to see the latest music clip that came out. And so Influencers Culture Club, very much, there's a stock of genres going on here. Soul, rock, funk, reggae, bit of salsa. And as I've said, one of the most successful acts in the 1980s and very representative of minorities. So if you're in a minority, you'd think of the Culture Club and think, oh, these guys get me. How cool is that to actually have someone speaking straight to me? So I think the thing that I wanted to bring about the Culture Club today and is to talk about them as a group a bit more, which I've already talked about a bit, but this concept of culture. Now, cultural competence is one of these things that we've got to have these days. What are you thinking, Trevor? What is culture? That's just like where you come from, right? Your language, that sort of thing. Well, yeah, it is. I was a chaplain in a primary school with a 35 cultures, and of course it's not just where the person's from, it's also the language they speak. It might be the religion that they follow, the faith that they have, the beliefs that they have. It might also be the fact that that might be a single parent household or a double parent household. It could be that they've come from another country and moved to Australia. There are a whole heap of things to do with culture. Of course, and certainly what the Culture Club brought is this thing of sexual preference, your gender preference, all that sort of thing. I heard someone talk to me once about the fact that there is a biological sex that we have, but then on top of that, or next to that, or you draw a big black line through that, there is the gender preference that you have. And, LGBTQIA+, I hope I've got that right. We keep adding to this, this diversity of this particular designated part of culture. But, as a guy said to me, as they said to me, actually, there are ranges with all of those things. And so just because you might associate as one way, you are individual and distinct and unique, and you are you, and you're going to bring in your individualistic track on things. This is the problem. This is the issue with culture these days. It is individual. I think this is where we're headed a bit today. It's individualistic. Like every culture, there are every person will put their own particular stamp on the culture and create their own unique version of it. So how do we navigate this kind of world when you've got to be careful what you say and what you think and what you do. But I think there's one common thing that, and certainly what music enables us to do, there's one common thing that we all desire, and that is to connect, to be listened to and to be heard and to be understood. That is at the center of every human being in the world. I don't think I've met one human being that doesn't want that. And as I'm talking to you today, or talking with you, let's just say that, with you in this camera today, I'm hoping that I'm actually connecting with you as a human being, as a person who needs love and care and resonance and connection with another person. I hope these videos are doing that. So I think all we need to do is, if we can start getting bound down with, I've got to think about this person this way, I think about the gay thing, got to think about race, all of that. I think the best thing we can do is just think, well, hang on a minute, they're a person just like me. And so if I was going to be talked to by someone else, what would I want to be? I would just want someone to be present with me. That's all it takes. So you put opinions on hold. That's the first thing you do. And you don't give people the 15 or 20 seconds or whatever it is, whatever is the seconds that these days with this first impression reflex. What you do is you actually put that on hold if you can. You can't completely get rid of it, but you can limit its effect and give people a bit of a go. And so when you get to know the person, you get to know the person and realize the person is fragile, just like you are probably, and you just go very gently into conversation. And as you get to know more, you ask the very gentle questions of where you're from, or who are you as a person, or what do you think about this or that, and just wait for the answers to come back. And in that way, that's how you get cultural competence. You don't have to go into the world with all these kind of packed answers for whoever you're going to meet. Just meet the person where they are. That's all it takes. And then very gently let the conversation take you over. That's the best thing we can do. Because you know what? If we're going into the world with all these packed answers about, what we're going to do when we come up against this person, well, we're actually going into conversation with pre-armed ideas and thoughts. That's the worst thing we can do. The best thing we can do is go in, keep your mind open, keep your heart open, keep your opinions on hold, and just be with the person. And the person will be really appreciative of the fact that you're just resonating with them as a person and nothing more. And what I'm thinking is with in 1981 in London with New Wave, and certainly with Virgin Records signed these guys, and thinking, yeah, we get this, we think. This is an emerging story though at the same time. They're thinking, well, just be with us as we are. Just come along for the ride. We're certainly going to respect you if you can respect us. And certainly, in recent times in Australia, Boy George has been on The Voice, and it's pretty amazing to see such an iconic guy on stage and trying to encourage other people to also be the best they can. Of course, Culture Club were a pretty amazing act on stage. They were very, very tight, very, very colourful, but it was all about the music at the same time. In fact, to quote Boy George, he said, it's not about, I like rock and roll, but I don't like the rock and roll lifestyle. So that's just something right there. So I thought that's all a bit of an encouragement for you today. Let's practice cultural competence just by being present with people. That's all it takes. So onto the clip. So we have got Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? This is an absolutely massive song for the Culture Club. And it went to #1 in many countries, and it's off the album Kissing to Be Clever. That album actually sold 4 million albums worldwide, so a pretty significant release for these guys from 1982. And of course, then you think this is Culture Club who just got so many hits. We then got Come a Chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. Very much a bit of a thing. Hey, I don't actually understand where you are most of the time. Can't you just kind of hang around and be for a while? This is the official clip on that one. So here we get to see Boy George in all of his colourful splendour right here. This is off the album Colour by Numbers. Again, a massive album for these guys. It sold 10 million albums worldwide. And Rolling Stone actually put this album number 96 on the top 100 albums of all time. So that's pretty cool. Actually, that's the top 500 albums of all time. I'm thinking, just trying to remember what it was. It's either top 100 or top 500, one of the two. It's a very significant album in the scheme of music in general. So that's the official clip of that one. And this is what MTV was doing back in those days. This is the sort of length you had to go to actually get a video online. They were mini movies, they really, really were. And you had to actually know how to sing to the camera. And in the case of, video clips, mouth the words to the soundtrack you'd actually already recorded. So very hard to get all of that stuff happening. We then got Church of the Poison Mind of the album Kissing to Be Clever, 1982. This is a live version of that one. And it's really great to see these guys can actually perform really, really well on stage. And so we've got that one there. Live album 1982. We then got Miss Me Blind. This is again from Colour by Numbers. This is a little bit later. Boy George has changed his image here a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. He's a little still effervescent and charming and all the rest of it. But obviously, as you grow, you have to mature. And the great thing about Boy George is he's been able to mature his image by remaining true to himself. We've got Miss Me Blind, and also I'm Your Man, which is a Wham classic. It's great to see him give them a bit of a nod here. Of course, George Michael died a little while back, and that was a bit of a blow to the world, actually. So it's good to see Boy George giving a bit of a tribute to Wham and Miss Me Blind, with Miss Me Blind and I'm Your Man. A lot of the Culture Club sound is quite a big sound. There needs to be quite a few people on stage. There's almost a bit of a progressive soul, rock and funk to these guys. And nothing brings that out better than Miss Me Blind. Then we've got top 107th song of 500 songs. So that, I think, Colour Me Number is the top 96 in the 100th top albums. Well, this is the 107th song in the top 500 songs. Time Clock of the Heart, a very significant song for the world of music. This is an official clip on that one. And I love the concept of time being the thing that ages gracefully, or could ages not so gracefully, depending on how we've lived our lives. And so that's a very significant song. That's the official clip on that one. And so the links to those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos are in the description below. And I've also included my last video on Eddy Grant. There's a bit of a commonality going on here around, trying to make an impact on the world and trying to make a bit of a statement with his songs, well and truly what Eddy Grant did and what Culture Club have done as well. Of course, Eddy Grant being from Guyana, very much bringing that swang into the world of culture. Culture Club, through the diversity of their lineup, trying to do it through their particular act. So a bit of a commonality going through these videos today. Well, if you come back for another one, or if we've looked at this concept of cultural competence today, or this is your first time, the Life Reflections through Music, thank you to everybody for coming in and hanging around. Thank you for the engagement we're getting of late. Feel free to pass the word around. I never say please subscribe to the channel. You're going to subscribe if you're going to subscribe, or leave that one totally up to you. Well, next time we're going to a little movie from 1984. There's some pretty big people involved in the soundtrack, including Giorgio Moroder and Jeff Lynne and a few others. So very significant music in the pretty significant movie in the age of music. And I'm thinking in this world that we're in now a little bit prophetic, speaking into the future. 1984 so we're reaching forward quite a few years forward to see where we might actually be in this world right now. So that's where we're heading next time. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.